Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for a session on improving the quality of hire with Verified First and Ceipal. So, for this session, Ceipal is joined by Brianna Rosenkrantz, Partner Marketing Manager, Verified First. We have Dakota Bruno, Affiliate Relationship Manager, Verified First. But before we launch into today's session, there are a few housekeeping items to cover. First, each session will be recorded and available on demand through Ceipal's website. A follow-up email will be sent to all registrants with the recording and any other relevant material. Second, we'll have a Q&A session following the discussion. All participants have entered the session muted. So please enter your questions in the questions tab on the right-hand menu and we'll address them at the end of the panel. And finally, we are on a strict schedule today. To save time for our Q&A period, I'll give you a 5-minute warning to our speakers. After the 5-minute warning, the speaker will conclude their conversation and will open for Q&A. Please note that this session will end promptly at the scheduled time. At that point, we encourage you to visit our agenda tab and explore our other topics and speakers in the 4 different tracks. If you do not visit the agenda tab, you will be automatically redirected to the next session in this track. That's it, and it's now my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today. Brianna is a seasoned strategic marketing and content development professional with over 3 years of experience in operations management, content creation, strategic event planning, and relationship management. Dakota is an experienced affiliate manager with a demonstrated history of creating mutually beneficial relationship between organizations. We are excited to have you both, and with that, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. Hi, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Ceipal Connect. This is so exciting. This is something that I know has been going on for quite some time, and Verified First is truly excited to be a part of it. Now, I'm super excited today to talk about how Verified First and Ceipal come together to improve the quality of hire and to show how companies can benefit with different types of screening. Now, with that, I want to go ahead. Tanzmeen did an amazing job introducing us here, but I do, again, want to go through our panel that we have here today. My name is Brianna Rosenkrantz. I am a partner marketing manager at Verified First, and I also do a variety of other hosting for different types of seminars and webinars that we host. So I also host our HR at the Table series, where we talk with some of the most notable speakers in HR and talent acquisition at some of the most notable companies. So I highly encourage you to go check out HR at the Table, verifiedfirst.com. It is truly a wonderful series. Also on the line with me, I have my cohort, Dakota Bruno. Dakota, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, Brianna. Yes, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Happy to have you on here. My name is Dakota Bruno. I'm an affiliate manager at Verified First. And really what that entails is helping relationships reach their fullest potential, right? So with Ceipal and Verified First, we have a strong partnership, a strong relationship, and we're really hoping to help everybody on this network realize the potential of that, how we can improve the quality of hire, keep that turnaround time down, keep that turnover down, and make your value and your company and employees happier.
Awesome. Well, we're super excited to be here today. Now, I want to go ahead and provide a little bit more context about who Verified First is and what it is that we do. So we are a fast-growing tech company on a mission to deliver cutting-edge HR technology that transforms the way organizations protect their people, whether it's through background screening or drug testing or I-9 and E-verifications or education and employment verifications. So Dakota, can you go ahead and provide a little bit more context about why Verified First and Ceipal came together?
Yeah, definitely. So more and more in today's day and age, as we enter remote hire and all these different softwares and technologies, it's important to have your primary functions in one place, right? So you're already in Ceipal to manage your applicant tracking system, your ATS. Why not have other tools implemented in that same software, right? That's where Verified First comes in. We have an integration that we'll show you later on this call that's free to use. There's no cost for the integration. It's extremely easy to implement, and it puts all these different services, background checks, drug screening, I-9, E-Verify, employment, education verifications, all the above, right in your Ceipal platforms. So you don't have to go anywhere else. You can stay within one platform. Everybody knows you log into 20, 25 different platforms all day long. We're trying to limit that and keep you in one place. So that's primarily where we want to save you time and keep you more efficient, is by connecting with Ceipal and making that partnership and integration function well.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. So this first video that I have here to play is less than a minute long or so, and it's going to show why background screening matters. And then after, Dakota and I are going to provide a little bit more insight into this video here. So Dakota, just give me a thumbs up. Let me know that the sound is okay.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Hank. Hank is applying to be a commercial driver at Acme. He appears to be a great candidate and has disclosed past infractions. However, he didn't mention he's been involved in multiple motor vehicle accidents and has had a variety of driving tickets. Additionally, he's been fired from 3 of his previous employers. With his history, hiring him might lead to a negligent hiring lawsuit and put your organization at risk. That's why vetting candidates like Hank through a PBSA accredited background check process is crucial to Acme. Not only can you reduce the risk of a bad hire, you can improve the accuracy and quality of hire. Revealing a candidate's history can help protect Acme and its employees. Not to mention, a bad hire can impact the retention of great employees you don't want to lose. To request a demo, visit verifiedfirst.com.
All right. And we are going to go through a brief demo today, but we have our information so we can go through more of what your organization needs. So Dakota, what additional insight do you have in that video?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I thought was very pertinent is that you might hire an employee, and without knowing their background or the history they have, it could potentially affect the employees you already have within your organization, right? So you want to create that safe, compliant background screening policy so that as you hire new employees and as you retain those employees over the course of years, you can ensure that they're working in a safe environment, they're going to be safe, and that you understand the history and the background that they have so that you can keep that company culture where you want, and that really you can keep the value of the company high as well. We found that background screening really does impact the productivity of employees. And so we want to make sure that you're able to have those tools at your disposal to keep the company where you want it to be.
Right, exactly. And you don't know what you don't know, right? You know, if without conducting a background check, there's so much information that could potentially be revealed to you that could help you make the decision if someone's a good culture fit or right for the position. But if you don't conduct that background check, sometimes it's hard to tell that information. Now, with this video, this is actually based on a true story. So there was a driver who was applying to be a commercial driver, and they did have multiple vehicle infractions. They were fired from previous employers, and the employer actually did conduct a background check, and they decided to hire this individual anyways. And this individual actually got in a pretty intense accident, and it ended up injuring someone in the community. So not only is it important to conduct the background checks, but it's also important to make sure you're using the information to make a good hiring decision. You know, because of what this employer did, they were actually hit with a pretty hefty negligent hiring lawsuit here. Now, so this begs the question here, why do bad things happen to good people? We actually partnered with a third-party researcher, Aptitude Research. If you're interested in finding more of this research, we do have our talent acquisition technology buyer's guide, verifiedfirst.com. Highly encourage you to check it out there. But with this, they were able to discover that 39% of organizations are not screening every candidate for roles at their organization. So Dakota, what does this make you think of here?
Yeah, exactly like you just mentioned on the previous slide. There's potential negligent hiring lawsuits available, or you open your organization up to those lawsuits or those other problems that might happen because you're not screening for every role, right? And with that, you can't choose to screen, 1 or 2 employees as you onboard them. You have to have a policy in place to screen every candidate for every role, because that's what keeps you compliant, and that's what keeps your company safe and insulated from those lawsuits, insulated from those potential problems that could arise. So we recommend at Verified First having that policy in place so that every candidate is fair and equitably screened for their background. We have drug screening available as well for workplaces that are pertinent, driving records as well for those places that are pertinent. But doing so actually saves a lot of money, a lot of time on the back end because you're able to have more information on the front end. You're able to keep your employees safe, keep your employees happier, as well as your recruiters, right? Your recruiters, they're obviously trying to do the right thing for your company. They're trying to hire the right people, but if you're not allowing them to have the tools to have the information they need to hire the right individuals, that can really impact the organization. So we want to provide a tool that you're able to use to stay compliant, keep your current employees happy, but also retain the employees you do hire and make sure they have a good experience within your company.
Yeah, and Dakota, you mentioned fair and equitable, and that is actually the thing that stands out to me the most here. So when I saw the statistic, I instantly thought of discrimination, of employers potentially having those unconscious biases in their hiring process to make it so they are potentially being picky and choosy when it comes to who they're having do a background check or a drug test, whatever it may be, as part of those pre-employment factors. And so why this is a problem, not only because it involves discrimination, but also because it violates the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which states that employers are not allowed to conduct background checks based on those protected classes like race, religion, sex, whatever that may be. And so that's why this number is so concerning to me, is that there is the potential for discriminatory hiring lawsuits. So now we're talking about negligent hiring lawsuits, discrimination lawsuits. So that's why it's really important to have those policies in place that are consistent, fair, and equitable, like you said here, Dakota. Now, like I said, we've talked about negligent hiring lawsuits, discrimination lawsuits. So let's go a little bit further into the cost of a bad hire. So Dakota, can you go ahead and share some more research that we found with aptitude research?
Yeah, of course. So as you can see on the slide here, the average cost to hire is just over $4,000. But it can take up to 6 to 9 months to replace that employee, right? To get them fully up and running, to get the training done, the onboarding, everything. And so if you're looking at the stats at the bottom, so if an employee is making $60,000 a year, the cost to recruit and train, et cetera, that employee can be $30,000 to $45,000, right? And so in perspective, running a background check to hopefully avoid that turnover or having to hire more often than not is way worth the effort. It's far worth the money, and the ROI is definitely there. So we want to make sure that you have the information you need through a background check, a drug screen, whatever that means, so that you don't have to make as many bad hires, right? Now, obviously, everyone's going to not be 100% fit within the organization. We understand that. But if you're able to have more information on the front end before you hire someone, you have a more educated assumption, more education, more information on who that person is, what background they have, what potential risks might be incurred through hiring that employee. And we found that turnover is way less likely to happen. So we want to help you save money and keep your employees safe. And this is one stat that we've found, that background screening really does help to make the company more profitable and more effective in their hiring.
Yeah, Dakota. And it's really interesting as well, because we know that the talent market is very competitive right now. It is, the last 2 years, the last year, the last 6 months have been completely unprecedented. And so when it comes to background screening or drug testing, some organizations have decided to forego this component because they view it as a bottleneck. Whereas in reality, like Dakota said a little bit earlier, is that you're actually helping to mitigate these future costs and potential by knowing information up front so that you can save yourself some time in the future here. Now, with that, Dakota, I'd love for you to go ahead and share a little bit more about how screening impacts your organization. This, again, is information that we've conducted with aptitude research here.
Yeah, perfect. So like you mentioned on the previous slide, organizations using background screening are twice as likely to improve the quality of hires. So that's people that fit better within your organization. That's people that can perform their jobs better because you understand their qualifications, right? You understand where they came from and that they have the right qualifications you need and that they'll fit within your organization as well. So despite some discrepancies or things you might think the background check takes longer or makes people think twice about being onboarded, we've actually found that people are more likely to be better fits within an organization if that background check is conducted. And similarly, organizations are 3 times more likely to improve their time to fill. So when you have more information about somebody, when you have a better understanding of who they are and how they can impact your organization, you're going to be able to move forward with that candidate a lot faster and a lot more confidently than if you didn't have that information. And so having that background check or that drug screening ran allows you the confidence and assurity that you're making the right decision, and so that your recruiters and your HR team are able to move forward a lot faster with that decision with that candidate. And lastly, you're also twice as likely to improve your recruiter satisfaction. So these are employees you care about and you love that are doing this work for you. They're trying to fill these open positions, as we've understood is an extremely hard task in these past couple of years to do. So as they're trying to fill these roles and fill these positions, we want to give them all the tools they need to make that an easy process, an efficient process. And background screening is one way to improve their experience with that and their time to fill, and thus making them happier because they get to spend more time on things they like doing, not just reading resumes, not trying to deliberate between candidates. If we can provide more information and make that decision easier, they're going to be able to spend more time on value added opportunities.
Dakota, that is honestly my favorite benefit here is, I worked as an HR assistant many years ago. And when I was doing that, we didn't have this type of technology. We were using spreadsheets and we were using filing cabinets and binders and folders to track this information. And the ability to streamline that process and make it much more faster gives these professionals the ability for that value added time. So instead of focusing on the organization and kind of the task mastering of HR and talent acquisition, you can now focus on value added initiatives like employee engagement and candidate experience and diversity, equity, inclusion, and focus on those things that really impact a business's success and sustainability by focusing on your core, which is your people. Now, background screening is important, but it's also important to understand that when it comes to vetting candidates or employees, it is not necessarily the end all be all. It's also important to consider drug testing as well. So, Dakota, if you could take a moment and talk a little bit about what happens when substances enter the workforce, and then what happens when organizations implement a drug-free workplace.
Definitely. So what we found through our research is that when substances enter the workplace, candidates and employees are more likely to change jobs frequently, be late or absent, causing less productivity to happen. They're more likely to be involved in a workplace accident or potentially harm other people. Thus, that could also open up your company to litigation or legal issues. And they're also more likely to file a workers' compensation claim. Again, potentially causing more costs to your organization. Now, what we found for employers who have implemented a drug-free workplace program or drug testing solutions, there's better morale, there's higher productivity levels, there's less absenteeism or accidents or downtime even as well. People are also less likely to turn over as quick, and there's not as much theft. There's also been an increased health status among employees and notably their family members, right? Because you're able to help that employee or enforce that drug-free workplace program that also increases their family members' health as well. And lastly, for the company, there's a reduced healthcare cost. If your employees are not using substances, your healthcare costs go down. And so the glaring statistic on the right side is that the government estimates that $82 billion are lost to productivity each year because of substance abuse. So if we're able to help stop that substance use within the workplace, will one, keep your employees safer, but two, also decrease costs and increase productivity for companies. And so we found that drug testing in the workplace is vital. It's very essential. And there's a lot of different ways that can take place. There's a lot of different programs. And so you need to consult with someone that has that knowledge and that is able to keep you compliant and keep you within the laws for drug screening. So Verified First and Ceipal, we have that integration built. We have a lot of tools to help you stay within those laws and decrease that substance use in your workplace.
Awesome, Dakota. Well, now that we're talking about substances here, I want to go ahead and actually launch our first poll question. So Dakota, if you can go ahead and launch that. So we want to kind of get a pulse check from the audience here. So with this, our question is, how many US drivers do you think are arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol or narcotics annually? So with that, it's important to recognize a few things. First thing is that we are only looking at drivers in the United States. So that there is a key point information there. The next thing is that we're only looking at the people who are arrested and then on an annual level. So Dakota, do you have any insight here?
Yeah, when I originally saw this, I thought that it would probably be C, because I didn't know if very many arrests happened for this activity. I was definitely shocked to find out the answer as well, but it's unfortunate that these are only people arrested, right? There's a lot of different people that are engaging in this activity but aren't arrested. So this statistic and this number might actually be higher, but we are unable to capture that data. So definitely shocked when I first saw it, but happy that we have a workplace program in Verified First and Ceipal's partnership to keep that in check and hopefully lower that number.
All right, well, let's go ahead and look at the reality here. So the reality is that it's actually a million US drivers are arrested annually for driving under the influence of alcohol or narcotics. So Dakota, additional thoughts here?
Yeah, like I said, I was shocked to find this number out. I didn't know that activity was so prolific as well in the United States. But again, happy that we have a partnership in place and technology in place to have those workplace drug testing programs implemented so that we can help keep people safe on the roads, safe during their jobs, and keep those costs down as well.
Yeah, and I think there's two really important things to call out here. The first thing is that here in the United States, we do have the DPPA, which is the Driver's Privacy Protection Act. So that one's really important to understand because it's basically stating that employers can only conduct driver's records checks when it's relevant to the job. So if you're a cashier, there's no driving required. It's not necessary for driving records to be pulled. On the other side, though, this is a conversation about substance and alcohol use that can potentially bleed into the workforce. And so that's where the drug testing really comes into play here. Now, I do want to go ahead and note something that is so pertinent to what's been happening these last 2 years, and we have to talk about what's going on. So, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, they actually estimated that 13% of Americans have started or increased substance use to manage emotions connected to COVID-19. So, obviously, we know that the pandemic has been a huge stressor on people these last 2 years, and that's something where maybe they have turned to alcohol or substances to cope with the emotions of COVID-19. So firstly, it's important to have empathy for those individuals and the trials and tribulations that they're going through. The second thing to note is that the employer's role in this type of stuff is so important now because of how intertwined the work life and on-site life, remote work and on-site are during this time. And so with that, it's important to understand that Verified First can help solve a piece of the puzzle, but we are just a piece of a puzzle when it comes to this problem. So it's really important for employers to recognize whether they are implementing, drug-free workplaces or whether that be employee assistance programs or mentoring, coaching, whatever that may be. So with that, it's important to recognize that there is more work that needs to be done to help these individuals. Now, with that, I do want to go ahead and talk about the piece that Verified First can solve. So here, when it comes to drug testing, there are a couple different types of drug tests that someone can do in a workplace, whether that's pre-employment tests, for cause and reasonable suspicion tests, and random drug screening programs. So Dakota, can you talk a little bit more about the random drug screening program?
Yeah, of course. So what that entails is that as an employee is onboarded and it continues their employment throughout an organization, it's important that you have a random drug screening program that screens all of your employees at a random point in time. And so a few notes with random, it's not as you keep track of it in a spreadsheet or on every other Saturday that you think might help. There's really a lot of data and a lot of math that goes behind having a random program so that you can avoid any discriminatory actions, right? And so what Verified First does within the partnership with Ceipal is we allow employers to enroll all of their employees in a random drug screen program that creates a pool of employees that at random periods of time, whether that be quarterly or whatever that employer signs up for, a percentage of employees from each employer is polled and asked to have a drug screen ran. And so this keeps your company compliant with the laws. It also keeps you more informed on what's going on in your employees' lives so that you're better able to maintain a safe work environment and a safe workplace to keep your employees happy, to keep their productivity up, and also to insulate your company from potential legal issues.
Awesome. Thanks for that explanation, Dakota. Now, we've talked a lot about background screening and drug screening, and those are not requirements for every organization. But I do want to talk about something that is a requirement for every organization here in the United States, and that is Form I-9. So Form I-9 is what verifies someone's authorization to work here in the United States. This form is 2 pages long. It has a 70-page instruction manual, and it is the highest fine government form in the United States. Why is that? Well, on average, paper Form I-9s have 3.1 errors, and ICE can fine up to $2,332 per substantial Form I-9 error. So, Dakota, can you talk a little bit more about our I-9 solution that we offer?
Yes, definitely. So with this paper, if this is a paper form, right, there's so many places you can make a mistake. There's so many potential fines on this 1-2-page form. What our integration and partnership does with Tracker I-9 is allow you to digitally fill out this paper. And what that means is that there's a lot of checks and balances in place, right? There's places where you have to fill in this area. There's places where if you have to calculate something or if it's optional to fill in an area, there's rules that help you and guide you through filling out the form. So we've noticed that there's a lot less errors in digitally filled out I-9s, and it's also a lot faster to 1, fill out, 2, keep track of, and 3, pull for records when you do need to pull them and have an I-9 audit performed. So this partnership and the digital ability to fill out your I-9 and e-verify really allows you to have better efficiency and also reduces that error and reduces the fine amount substantially.
Right. And not to mention, especially as we have so many remote workers now, this is a huge bonus to have. Rather than having someone have to come into the office, you can now do this digitally. So like I said, that's a huge bonus for this. Now, we've talked a lot about our solutions. So Dakota, I'd love if you can go ahead and actually show us how it works here. So if you want to pull it up, and then I will allow you to take over the screen here.
Awesome. Thank you. You may have to stop sharing and then I'll pull it up as well. Perfect. Now it's coming right up. So really where the integration starts is actually within whatever web browser you use, so whether it be Chrome, Safari, Internet Explorer, Firefox, there's an app extension that you download. So you come into, I'm going to use Chrome as an example for this demo. Come into Chrome, search for Verified First, and download this extension. Once you download the extension, you allow access to your profile, to your Internet Explorer, Internet user, and then you pin it to the top bar as well. As soon as you do that and you log into your Ceipal applicant page here, this button, Screen with Verified First, pops up. And so what's important to note here is in order for you to run a screen, you obviously have to have an account with Verified First, and we'll walk you through each of these steps as well in a more detailed way so that you make sure that that integration pops up. But we have our test candidate here. He's pulled up. We're on the applicants page. We're ready to run a background check to see if he's a candidate for hire. You come in, you get the integration running, you click Place New Order with the Screen with Verified First button. What that does is it pulls the sidebar menu up. And what's important here is it doesn't take you away from the Ceipal platform, right? You're not logging into another system. The first time you download the integration, you will have to log in, but then after that, we remember the login, etc., so that you just have this sidebar menu that pulls up. From here, you can select different products that you need. Again, there's a lot of different background screening and drug testing products, about 150, 160. And so that can get really confusing. Again, we're here to help you. We'll walk you through what products you need, whether that be drug testing, background screening, or I-9 E-Verify. All of that is housed within the same platform, and we'll help you out. We'll walk you through all of those questions. You can also create packages. So if you're hiring a lot for, say, a restaurant server, you can create a package for that and run the same 5 screens or 6 screens for that candidate every single time. So it saves you time and makes you more efficient. Next thing is that you'll notice it pulls over information for you so that your team doesn't have to double their efforts and redo their data entry. So if it has first name, last name, email, and phone number, we pull all that information over. It also decreases the amount of errors that are made, which is super helpful because I know I fat finger on the keyboard all the time and make a lot of errors. So the less typing I have to do, the better.
Oh, me too, Dakota.
Well, glad I'm not alone in that. So once you come in here, this candidate did not have a phone number, so we'll put one in there. We're doing a test run for this one. After you have the information in, you selected the product, you can click send invite.
Oh, Dakota, looks like you need to update for your email there.
There we go. I'm actually going to use this email for this one. My email is currently in use on a different one, so I'll use this one real quick.
Awesome.
So the next page right here, the report can be auto-ordered as soon as that candidate fills out the disclosure forms, or again, your HR team can manually check to make sure they want to go ahead with this background check. The next piece, this is my favorite piece right here. So when you're having to run a background check, the last thing you want to do is wait for the candidate to fill out their side of the forms, right? So on this page, you're able to send the invite for the candidate to fill out the disclosure forms through email, but also you're able to text them that. So obviously we know that people are on their phones a lot more than their emails or laptops. And so texting their number with this disclosure forms, most texts are answered within the first 3 minutes of receiving them. So if somebody's out and about or hanging out on their couch, they get a text, hey, fill out these forms for your potential job, they're going to do that a lot quicker. We found that it shaves 8.9 hours off of turnaround time. So over a full business day off that turnaround time. So definitely a unique feature and one we like to use. After that, you're pretty much done. You click send, those disclosure forms go out. As soon as that report is done, it comes back into this portal, right? So you can see that report and other reports ran on different candidates from within this portal. So you don't have to log out of Ceipal. You can stay right within here, view that report, view the details, and make that hiring decision. Lastly, if you do have to take adverse or pre-adverse action, that can also be handled within Verified First platform. They have an option within here so that you do not have to go somewhere else. That can be a hassle too, to have to get your own letter or your own email written and drafted up, but Verified First handles all that. So again, we'll walk you through all of this in a more detailed demo. If you do have questions and you're interested, our information is at the bottom of the slides here. But that, in short, is the integration and one way you can save a lot of time in your hiring and applicant tracking system. So thank you.
Awesome, Dakota. Good stuff. And I do have one thing to add here. When it comes to this integration process, we didn't necessarily see the candidate side, but the candidate side is also amazing. And that is something that's so important as well for your brand. So basically what happens, like Dakota said, they'll either get those forms texted to them or emailed to them. Those forms are completely customizable to add your logo, which is great because it also increases that time as well for turnaround time, because you have the individual trusting your company. So with that, I was once a candidate for Verified First. I actually got to use our solution. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is so slick. I thought that I was walking into the future. Before this, just like many of you, I'm sure you had to do all of these forms on paper. And the ability to do this in a digital experience really gave me a good impression of the company here. All right, I'm just going to take back screen here. Okay. So next we want to launch our last poll question here, kind of get a pulse check from the audience again here and ask you, what type of technology are you considering to add or replace within the next 3 months? So with this question, this is part of that third-party research we're doing with Aptitude Research, mentioned them a couple times, and this information is actually information we've been collecting for the past year. So this is going into our 2023 Talent Acquisition Technology Buyer's Guide, which is a detailed description of what types of talent or what types of technology that organizations are looking towards to improve their talent acquisition technology stack. It also gives other insight into what types of technology organizations are prioritizing, what types of problems those technologies are solving for. So love to hear your feedback on if you're interested in ATS, CRM, background screening, assessments, or maybe you have a great talent stack right now and you don't need anything else. So Dakota, any additional insight here?
Yeah, I would just say that we've noticed a transition, like I said earlier, that people who have a lot of different platforms are trying to consolidate that. So they have to log into fewer platforms. They have to go to fewer places to get the things done they need to, right? So if you're part of that and you're looking for these integrations that help Ceipal and Verify First have a great integration and way to consolidate the number of platforms you're logging into. That's one benefit of having these partnerships in place, is that you don't have to log in 5 times. You can log into one place, get what you need done in terms of hiring an employee through the whole process, and then log back out. So it's a lot more streamlined.
Awesome. Now, Dakota, if you can go ahead, high level, give us an explanation of the benefits of Verified First solution with Ceipal.
Yeah, of course. So to start off, the integration, you saw it briefly. Again, there's no integration fees, no startup fees. There's not a monthly minimum fee either, right? So however many background screens you run that month, that's what your bill ends up being. So there's not going to be any extra fees that you're unaware of. Lastly, it does connect in 15 seconds or less. We'll walk you through that process, and you don't have to leave your HR solution. So if you're in Ceipal already, add an extra 15 seconds to download the extension, make an account with Verified First, and then you can stay within Ceipal and have that background screen ran. Ease of use, like I said, super easy login access. The candidate status updates. You can see those customizable packages or a la carte ordering. Like I said, there's 160 different products to choose from. We'll walk you through that. You can create those products on your own. You can also create different report viewing and customize that so you can see that. And then, as I mentioned in the demo, we have that SMS texting capability, which shaves off a lot of turnaround time for your candidates and for your company. For compliance, the last thing a lot of companies want to worry about is compliance in the background screening realm, right? And I don't blame you. So with this partnership, there's a lot of compliance tools built in. There's that pre-adverse action populated in there as well. You can have different user permissions or access settings so that if a manager needs to see different people, he is able to. But then if you want just your HR generalist to be able to see the candidates they're running screens on, that is also allowed. We're PBSA accredited, and with that, there's a lot of different authentication tools and everything that goes into keeping that data that's entered safe and secure, so you don't have to worry about that compliance tool either. Lastly, with our support, if you have a question on background screening, you don't want to try to answer that yourself. I've tried and I have not been successful at it. So our support team is extremely helpful with answering any questions your clients have regarding the turnaround time. If there's a delay somewhere because a court is understaffed, we're transparent about that. We're responsive. So most people, 98% of our clients get a response within 30 seconds and talk to a live person. We have a huge client resource center filled with articles, videos, different formats and material to allow you to answer your questions on your own as well. And lastly, there's no long-term contracts or monthly annual minimum fees or screening requirements. So again, we allow you to grow at your own pace and hire at your own pace. We're not trying to monitor or lock you in at a certain rate.
Awesome. And I do just want to highlight the support factor. Like Dakota said, we have a 98% client satisfaction rate, answer calls in less than 30 seconds. So that's huge. Our care team really does care about our clients to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. So another thing too is that turnaround time transparency. We've actually built custom software for that to be able to tell you when your orders are expected to be ready. This is not something that every background screening provider wants to provide information on, but we prefer transparency. And especially during this time where the market is so competitive, that's where it's important to make sure that you're keeping communication with your candidate to let them know what the status is of their background check or drug test or whatnot, to maintain that communication, to keep them in the loop so they don't go looking somewhere else. But with that, that's all the information that we have to talk about today. So Dakota, if someone's interested in learning more about Verified First and talking with someone about their unique needs for their organization, how can they get in contact with us?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways, right? So we have our website here, super easy to sign up or log in for a demo. If you have any questions, you're welcome to call in to that number as well. We're super responsive. And then lastly, if you just want to send an email, partner@Verified First, mention the Ceipal conference, will know exactly where you're coming from and what you've heard so far, and we'll be able to respond and help you out as well. So there's 3 different methods there. Super easy. We're very responsive to either 3 of those. So pick and choose and we'll help you out.
Awesome. Now I want to go ahead and open up the floor to any questions that anyone might have. And Tasneem, is there anything else that you need from us during this at all?
Yeah. Are you done with running the poll?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. And thank you so much, Brianna and Dakota. That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. And we
Yeah,
want
it
to
was
give a
great
big...
having you both.
Well, it's been lovely to be here, and we want to give a big thank you to our partners at Ceipal, and then also for hosting Ceipal Connect and inviting us to join this. I want to give a big thank you to Dakota. He did amazing today, and really appreciate your time and all of your insight into our solutions that we offer here at Verified First.
Wonderful.
We appreciate
Thank you
it.
for
Thank
making
you.
this session interesting and meaningful. And I would like to thank everyone for joining in. We encourage you to visit our agenda tab and explore other topics and speakers in the 4 different tracks. If you do not visit the agenda tab, you'll be automatically redirected to the next session in this track. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.